Oh my God, you know, this was a day which is never to be forgotten. The feelings were of more than happiness. It was a feeling of being delivered and being finally having lived to see the evil broken. And I cannot even call it happiness. It was much more than that.
Soviet forces liberated parts of Europe as early as March 1944. Between January and April of 1945, Allied forces, led by the Americans in the West and South, continued the liberation as they pushed towards Germany. In May 1945, the Nazi state collapsed and unconditionally surrendered, and the remaining concentration camps were liberated. However, 6 million Jews and millions of others had perished by this point. Only a small number of concentration camp inmates survived to see the day of their liberation. Here are a few of their stories.
I got a cold feeling in my back, which passed, but there was a kind of shudder, you know, and I presume now, it was like, so what now?
I was working in the kitchen, that was my extra duty, and no SS women were around, and then I heard 2 tanks coming in, and then one guy came out from the tank and he said, please stay on your places. The Red Cross will be here soon. You are liberated by the Army of the United States of America. Then I started to cry and I ran to my mother and my sister.
I just had my 70th birthday in Dachau. And I knew I'm losing my father. And at that moment, the prisoners are shouting outside. They say, the Americans are here, we are free. So I told my father, Father, the Americans are here, we are free. The war is over. So he looks at me with that faraway look and he says, that's good. Have you got the bread? Have you got the bread? That was my moment of liberation.
We were allowed to sleep in an old, dirty barn by the mayor of the town. The following morning, he opens up the door and in an unusually civil expression, he addresses us. He says, Fräulein, this isn't Frei, ladies, you are free. Right away, as we heard the word Fräulein, we started to cry and embrace each other, and we said, it's impossible, the war must be over. A German addressed us in civil tongue, and we were greeted by a Jewish American chaplain who gave us little mezuzahs, and then we felt liberated.
Unnatural strength entered my body, where before I couldn't walk, I suddenly start to run. And I said, I'm going to the gate. And my father called back after me. He says, get some food. And there at the gate, I saw our liberators. They were like angels who came out of nowhere to give us life. And our guards, who were only a few minutes before our masters, now stood with fear in their eyes. The realization suddenly came upon us that we haven't eaten in the last 2 days. I was crying. I was saying, how can I be hungry on the first day of my liberation? And in the last barrack, under a pile of broken cartons, I found a sack of flour. I took the flour and I brought it to my father. And we mixed it with water and we baked it on top of the stove as our matzah, our bread of redemption.
The gate came crashing in and the tank was coming through. It had a white star on it. And there were black soldiers sitting on the turret. I knew that my life is going to change. I'm alive and I've survived. I mean, that was like being the most wonderful gift that anybody could receive. You know, I was 16 years old.
When I went to the American zone, I right away signed up for kosher food. It was important to me because I was brought up like that. It wasn't easy to pick up the pieces, because I went through a lot, and I come from a family of 8, my parents and 5 brothers, and unfortunately I'm the only survivor.
I guess Hashem wanted one little branch of that tree to survive and tell the story.
You have to understand, not knowing what's going to happen every day, after losing everybody, after marching the death march when people were dying literally in the snow. And then one day we saw a man on a horse, a Russian soldier, coming towards us. He said he was a captain, that we are free. You cannot imagine the joy, you cannot imagine the exhilaration. I still see the picture in front of my eyes, women who could hardly walk, some were even crawling, pulled him down, they were kissing him, they were hugging him, and that day will always be in my mind, January 21st, 1945. We were finally free.
I said, I owe my life to you guys, you know. Had you not come maybe half an hour later, I don't think I would have made it.
I cannot describe you the feeling to be free, to know that I can maybe go home.
I think that this and future generations are facing multiple and daunting issues. First of all, I would like them to remember the Holocaust and commemorate it, and at the same time fight Holocaust denial. Beyond that, I'm hoping that they will expand and deepen their understanding.
If I had been in Theresienstadt for another few months, the chances were that I would not have survived. So they actually saved my life. So of course I am unbelievably grateful, because they allowed me to have a family, they allowed me to have a life, they allowed me to participate, to contribute, to be a Jew again.
And the next morning we came out to the gate, and the parachutists were gone, the German soldiers were gone. And we went on the watchtower and we saw them hopping through the grass, you know, and we saw tanks rolling over the highway. I grabbed the hand of the soldier looking out. All I could say was I was out of breath and thank you, thank you. And so he pulled me up and I sat behind him and he looked through the binocular and then he said, saw all the people coming. So he said something, what's that? And I said, and I didn't know the English word for concentration camp. So I said, it's a Jewish camp. And we rolled in and the people went bananas. I mean, I have never seen anything like it. I will never forget that sight, how it was. They screamed, they cried, and it was just hell broke loose. And all of a sudden, those soldiers sang a song, and we had never heard that song before. But I realized it was an important song because they looked so proud. And it was O Canada. And that's the first time I heard it. And I always say it's the most beautiful song in the world. And we were free.